Welcome to Sports Time with Chris. I'm your host, Chris, and today I'll be doing the final preview for the 49ers this season, and I'll be doing some predictions for some of the important playoff scenario games going on this weekend. But before we get into that, it's been a minute. I have been much busier than I anticipated the last few weeks with holidays and all sorts of stuff. We ended up hosting a breakfast for my father-in-law for his birthday on the day that I usually record. And that was kind of a last minute thing, but it was a lot of fun. And then we ended up doing our annual Christmas with my siblings, which is really cool. We played games and ate food. I smoked a turkey for the first time, and I don't like to toot my own horn too much, but that turkey was one of the best I personally had ever had. It was my first time ever making turkey at all, and I thought it turned out delicious. I ended up using the backbone to make a turkey stock, which I turned into gravy, and then I did fresh mashed potatoes from scratch as well. And yeah, that was really good. But I'll talk about that probably in a different episode some more. One of the gifts that I received was a Utah Hockey Club sweater. It was from my little brother, and I wasn't expecting to get any Utah Hockey Club stuff, so that was really cool. It was a nice surprise, and I realized that the Utah Hockey Club is the only sports team of mine that isn't going to disappoint me this year. And the reason for that is because it's their first season in Utah, and the fact that we have a professional hockey team is awesome, and that can't be disappointing at all. We'll see. There are some people that are projecting them to be a playoff team. I'll admit I haven't watched as much recently just because there's been a lot of good football going on. The college football playoff is happening right now as I speak between Georgia and Notre Dame. Notre Dame looks like it's going to end up winning that one. It's two-possession game at this point, but not a lot of time left on the clock, and it looks like Georgia just turned the ball over on downs or something in the red zone. So yeah, the hockey club, I was super stoked for that one. It's a nice soft sweater, and it's got like the scratch marks on it, which makes me think that they already know what the new team is going to be whenever they come up with that decision or whenever they announce it. But yeah, all my other teams this year are going to disappoint. The Niners are out of the playoffs. The Jazz suck. BYU blew their season. Oregon blew theirs. Man, what a horrible game that was. I was at the gym and just bad. That was so bad. Embarrassing loss for the Ducks. And so yeah, that's where I'm at. But on the bright side, football is my favorite sport, and the college football playoff has been really fun so far, besides Oregon, obviously. So a lot of good football there. A lot of good football this weekend as well, which I'll get into a little bit later. And in the NFL, there's been so many good teams this year. The Lions, the Ravens, the Bills. The Chiefs haven't looked that good, but they've only lost one game. So I'm excited to see how the rest of the season shapes up, and we're going to get into that later. But for now, I'm going to talk about the 49ers upcoming matchup against the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, this game doesn't mean very much for either team. They're both out of the playoffs. And so for me, what this game is for the Niners, and also Brock Purdy is out because he got hurt in the last game. I really just want to see our younger guys go out there and play hard, see what they've got. Last week, Pearsall had his breakout game. He looked solid, so I want to see what he can do this week. And there were quite a few backups playing on the offensive line, and they still held pretty firm. I mean, they were playing against a banged up Lions defense, so there's that needs to be factored in. But overall, they played pretty decently, especially considering some of them were just barely signed or brought in. Also was part of the reason why Brock got hurt as well, though. So there's that. This game is Josh Dobbs' revenge game against Arizona. He's a guy I doubt they'll bring him back, but I personally wouldn't mind seeing him as the backup next season to Purdy. I think a really good QB room would be Purdy, Dobbs, and then Tanner Mordecai. And if they can draft another rookie this year, I definitely think they should potentially have that guy on the practice squad, or I highly doubt Dobbs is going to be back. I don't want Brandon Allen back. But yeah, there's just not a lot going on in this game for me. I mean, I don't know who's even going to play offensively, defensively. There are so many guys banged up for the Niners. So for me, it's just about enjoying this last football game, seeing what the young guys can do. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So before I get into this 49ers versus Cardinals prediction, I will say that sometime probably after the Super Bowl is when I will do, I don't know. We'll see. At some point after the regular season, I'll do a little breakdown of 49ers this year. I'll give out some awards to the team. I'll talk about some of the guys I hope come back next year and what this team needs to do going forward. But with that being said, this team is really banged up right now, like really, really banged up. I think Arizona is just going to come out with their starters and play the way they've played, which has been pretty good. They were a fringe playoff team. So I think they will end up winning this game. The Cardinals will win 27-17. Obviously, this season has not gone at all the way I expected it would for the Niners. So yeah, it's unfortunate. It's something that happens every once in a while. So let's go into the NFL scenarios for this weekend. Obviously, playoff seeding will be finalized, and we're going to start in the NFC, in the NFC South. So the Bucs and Falcons are both playing for the final spot in the NFC South. The Bucs will play the Saints, and the Falcons are playing the Panthers. I really expect Tampa Bay to win this game and take the fourth seed. I've really come to respect and enjoy watching Baker Mayfield play. He is feisty and it seems like he's starting to get hot. With that being said, all the NFC South teams are playing each other. And like I've said before, divisional games can get weird. The Panthers have had moments where they looked solid, and they could potentially end Atlanta's season. The same goes for New Orleans. Both teams could be hungry to end their rival season. I still think Tampa is the best team in the division, but weird stuff can happen. Both games are also at the same time, so it's not like Tampa will know the outcome of the Atlanta game before theirs. I imagine they will be scoreboard watching, and if things are going their way, it'll be interesting to see if they end up pulling starters for some extra rest. And with that being said, I'm expecting Tampa Bay to control their destiny, punch their tickets to the playoffs, and they're going to win 35-13. And going over to the AFC side of things, there are three teams fighting for the final wildcard spot. Denver is in control of their destiny, and they just need to beat Kansas City to get in, and they have the best chance out of all the other teams because they control their destiny. After them is Miami. They have to win and have Denver lose. Final team in the mix is the Bengals. They have to win and have Denver lose, plus Miami has to lose or tie their game. I think the Bengals will be eliminated on Saturday if Baltimore wins. Pittsburgh will know their playoff fate before kickoff and may pull their starters. Otherwise, the Steelers will be hungry to be the top of the AFC North. I doubt that Cleveland will pull off the upset, but I hope they do. I think that would make the Saturday night game an absolutely epic one. I think where this scenario is the most interesting is between the Dolphins and Broncos. I fully expect Miami to beat the Jets. That's almost a guarantee to me. However, even with Kansas City resting their starters, they have a lot of depth because they know how to build a complete team. They have the best head coach and defensive coordinator in the NFL, so even their second team guys will provide a challenge for the Broncos. That game is in Denver, so I expect this to be good either way. The Broncos almost upset the Chiefs earlier this season, and they might actually pull it off this time. Living in Utah, I detest the Broncos, but being an Oregon Ducks fan, I'm a Bo Nix guy, so I'm okay if the Broncos win. However, I think the Chiefs will end up pulling it off. They don't want to face a divisional opponent like Denver again in the playoffs if they can help it, so they will give it their all with their backups. They will force a Bo Nix turnover to end the game 23-17. And I think the final game of the season will be an instant classic. Vikings-Lions are fighting for the number one spot in the NFC. Both will be battling hard to get that bye week and home field advantage, and the Lions have dealt with injuries this season, and that showed itself in the game versus the Niners, and Detroit's defense will be the key in this game. They have shown all season that they can put up a lot of points, and they will need to. Anticipate this game will be a shootout. The Vikings have a potent offense manned by Sam Darnold, who really has had an amazing turnaround. I used to cringe with him at QB for the Niners, but he has been awesome, and I've enjoyed his come-up story. I believe Ben Johnson is the most creative offensive coordinator in the NFL, and he will have a lot of tricks up his sleeve against the Vikings defense that is just as creative. If there is a team of destiny, I believe it's the Lions. They will win this one 42-41 with the last-minute touchdown and two-point conversion. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. I'm not going to get into the Pro Bowl roster or anything like that, just because I think the Pro Bowl really isn't what it used to be. I have no interest in the Pro Bowl. I haven't watched it in years, and it no longer is about the best players in the NFL. It's more of a popularity contest, and that's highlighted by Travis Kelce making the Pro Bowl this year. Like, yeah, he's a future Hall of Famer, and he has been a heck of a player, but this season he hasn't been the best tight end or player in the NFL by far, and yet somehow he still leads the league in Pro Bowl votes. So yeah, obviously I think that's the Taylor Swift effect and just popularity contest thing. He doesn't really deserve that, and it's just kind of a joke. So So with that being said, I'm not going to talk about that too much. I think for the next episode, we'll definitely be talking about the playoffs, and because that's going to be coming up shortly. And in the next few weeks, I'll also be reviewing the 49ers season. Obviously, they have one more game. This one's just really, I don't know. This one just feels more like a preseason game where we're just watching it to see how the young guys look and what this team could potentially look like for next season and going forward, rather than, this game actually meaning anything. So with that being said, it has been interesting covering the 49ers in the podcast form, and I'm excited to keep doing that next season. But right now, with football coming to a close, I think I'm going to start shifting my focus a little bit more towards hockey, because like I said, the hockey club is potentially a playoff team, which would be incredible. I still need to find a way to get to a game, but there's a professional sports team now in Utah there's one more professional sports team in Utah. So I want to support that team as much, especially since I haven't had any allegiance to any hockey team before. I know there are a lot of Utah fans that became Las Vegas Knights fans whenever they came to Vegas, just because it's the closest, there's them, there's Colorado Avalanche, just because they're the closest proximity teams, at least they were until now. So I may be not quite as active doing sports stuff. I also want to take this podcast isn't just about sports. It's going to be about other things, storytelling, cooking. I have all sorts of ideas for this channel, and I'll get into that later. But for now, that is going to do it. So if you haven't yet, please go subscribe to the channel, leave comments below. Let me know what you think. And yeah, that really helps me out, and I'm hoping to keep growing this thing. And hopefully, even during the off season, I continue to bring you some good 49ers content, give you my takes. And yeah, I'll be doing that I'll be doing just NFL takes until then. Talking about the playoffs and Super Bowl, probably not the Pro Bowl. And I'm sure there's going to be all sorts of news that comes out in the next few weeks. Head coaches are going to be fired and moving around and all sorts of stuff. So that's going to do it. This has been Sports. Sorry. It has been a minute since I've recorded. This has been Sports Time with Chris.